experts. It is my very big pleasure to welcome you to the opening of our Intersolar Conference 2014. And this conference is carried by Solar Promotions. I think Mr. Elsässer is still busy trying to get the governor into the room, and by the Freiburg Management and Marketing International Company, and co-organizer is SEMI, and I want especially to welcome Bettina Weiss from SEMI, who heads the PV part there. This conference would never have come into reality without the very, very active help from our conference committees. We have a conference committee and an industrial committee, altogether 35 experts, and they have really done a fantastic job making the conference program possible, bringing all the good colleagues to talk, and I think this morning you have already experienced some of these sessions. At least I saw that some of these sessions were almost full to capacity, so we are very impressed that we got all of this interest. I would like to thank very much the supporters of our conference. First of all, our close partner is Calcea, and I'm very happy to announce that we just 2 days ago signed a 5-year agreement with Calcea to have Calcea as our local partner. And another, thank you. And another very close partner is ACES, the American Society for Solar Energy, which now in this year has a conference co-located with Intersolar. And I might just say that those among you who are from ACES and ACES members, please tell ACES that this is a wonderful opportunity to bring the ACES members together with the Intersolar audience to have a very sizable show and exhibition for all the ACES members. So I would suggest it would be great if we could continue this co-location with ACES in the future. And finally, I want to appreciate our new partner, the National Alliance for Advanced Technology Batteries, NATBAT, but they are not the only partners. There are many others. You have seen special sessions from different organizations, which brings together the very exciting program which we have. And the conference sponsors, Jinko and DSM, we want to welcome. But now I don't want to spend any more time because I really see our Governor Jerry Brown is already in the room, and I just would like to ask you to congratulate the governor together with me. This year he celebrates 40 years since his first election as governor of California. Governor.
I've never been introduced that way. It just heightens my sense of impending obsolescence. But I will try to be as sustainable as I can for as long as I can. But I wasn't, no, I was elected 40 years ago this November, actually. So, but more importantly, here we are in San Francisco in California at this solar event with a strong, heavy German influence. And I've been definitely connecting with my inner Prussian since my great-grandfather left Germany in 1850 and came out to California in 1852. And I was on his, my ancestral ranch land today, looking at gullies and dry, hard, compacted soil, and thinking of ways how we can revitalize the soil in a way that will save water, recharge the underground aquifers, and live more sustainably with all the other creatures that inhabit this very special land. So I'm feeling a little distanced from all this urbanization, since out in the country there's only elk and coyote and lots of squirrels, and there was a hawk circling over that kind of made me think of latent political opposition. So anyway, I will say this, that I was around when California enacted a 55% tax credit for solar installations. That was back in 1975. And at that time, photovoltaics were really something for the space program, not for the rooftop. And it was really solar thermal. But in the decades that have come after, it's just amazing how the industry has advanced, how the ordinary citizens have picked up the torch of renewable energy, of sustainability, of a real sense that as we live and go about our lives and our work, we have to take account of the long-term consequences. Now, when you've been around for 40 years, you do have a sense that time passes, and the time is passing. And we have to think about what our impact is. And that impact is real. The fact that people aren't around, we can't even envision people 100 years, 200 years from now, but what we do has real impact. And that's why it's so important to develop the capacity, the imagination, to think about not just this quarter or this year, but the decades to come. And that's why even in cost-benefit analysis, they might say that someone today, their life is worth several million. If you go 50 years, maybe it's several 100,000. If you go 150 years, now it's far reduced. And yet, we're all tied together in now into the future. And so California has been pioneering these technologies. We have our cap and trade program, we have our building efficiency, our appliance efficiency, our zero emission vehicle program, which by the way is going to hit the 100,000 mark very soon. And we have our high-speed rail program that will be delivered by renewable energy, hopefully a lot of solar, and that's going to take a few collectors, more than we have installed today. So don't worry, there's plenty of solar to install over the next several years. We're not getting, it's not about, a limit. This thing about a third renewable, this the third, it's easy to think about, but we're going to, eventually, we have to get to the level of energy and this type of sources of energy that we are not raising the temperature, the greenhouse, generating greenhouse gases. We have a long way to go. And while it's very exciting to be with like-minded people, it's well to just take a pause and realize that the track we're on now is not sustainable. We have to make a turn and a shift. Anytime you're talking about an organism, physical or political, those shifts aren't that easy to make. And it's just as hard. Even in California, we have to adopt policies, we have to get insights, we have to build consensus. In a democratic society, it's not just about the expert, much less about the elite, it's about the people themselves, and we have to build consensus. And so a conference like this contributes to that. We have a growing consensus to deal with climate change, to build renewable energy, and to live elegantly and efficiently. And that's our task going forward. I just noticed today I got an email that said California is now the 8th largest economic jurisdiction in the world. We've passed Italy and Russia. I don't know whether that's, are there any Italians or Russians here? I don't know whether we should be commiserated or be congratulated, because we do have to make sure this economy is compatible with a long-term future. And we have to be able to extract more and more value from less material throughput. And that is going to take real genius. California really got going at the time of the gold rush. Now, there were people here for 10,000 years before that, but they lived more quietly and more lightly. And that's why they didn't screw it up for 10,000 years. At the time of the gold rush, which was the biggest stimulus program ever invented. They talk about, things are a little slow, we need a stimulus. Well, to tell the world, you just come out here with a pick and shovel and you'll get rich, that was a hell of a stimulus program. Hundreds of thousands of people came, and California then really drew its, I mean, it was just a backwater. And yet, when the gold came, people came from Germany, certainly, from Italy, from Russia, all over the world, they came. And then after gold was mined out, for the most part, they went to agriculture, and then later to movies and oil, and now high tech and internet and biocom, all this stuff. There is a real mining of the imagination, even more powerful than the mining of the Sierras for gold. And as we mine our imaginations, we have to invent not just gadgets and clever ways of doing whatever. We have to keep our eye on the big goal. And the big goal is certainly to build a more equitable and just society, but one that is just to all the creatures and to ourselves over time. And that's why solar is so important, but along with all the other sources of energy, and along with all the ways that we can adjust how we and the generations that come after us can live in a way that humanity will continue and that we won't devastate this wonderful gift of creation. So to the extent we're getting things done, then that's something to celebrate and congratulate ourselves. But I would just say it's daunting. This is a real Mount Everest to climb, and we haven't made the turn yet to sustainability. So let us take renewed excitement and commitment from how far we've gotten, but let's not kid ourselves. We have a much harder, a much taller, much more formidable challenge ahead of us. And so in that sense, I join with you to do everything we possibly can to make sure that our economy and our energy and all the way we live together works now and for the indefinite future. Thank you, and welcome to California. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we left that. Thank you so much, Governor. I think you are an inspiration for everybody here in the room who had the pleasure to hear you, because I must say, really, what an admirable person who has this type of vision, which fires all of us for what we are doing. And I think we are very grateful that it was possible in your tight schedule to come here and to set this conference on the right path. Thank you so much. Now I have the pleasure to invite our host, Mayor Edwin M. Lee, the mayor of San Francisco, and we are very glad that we are here already for the third time, since in 2012 you became the first Asian American mayor of San Francisco. Thanks for coming and giving us your greetings.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Gosh, it's always hard to follow the governor. I'm listening to every word he says, but I want to say, don't we have a great governor of the state of California? We certainly do. Well, thank you, Governor Brown, to your leadership on so many important issues affecting our state and, of course, the whole nation. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to San Francisco. It's a pleasure to welcome Intersolar 2014 back to San Francisco for the 7th year in a row. That's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Weber. Well, we have, Doctor, with your commitment, really developed a great partnership with Intersolar, and it's fitting, just as the governor was saying, we haven't really left those days of the gold rush. That was when pioneers, fortune seekers, immigrants, all types of people came rushing in to San Francisco Bay Area, to the state of California, to find what? To find answers to improve their lives. And it just so happens that this spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship is still alive and well, just as it was back in the late 1800s. In fact, instead of calling them those names of pioneers and fortune seekers, we now call them entrepreneurs, innovators, and disruptors. And one of the biggest disruptors today is the solar industry. That is disruptive in a very, very fine sense. You know, and this United States now has seen a record growth in solar installations. And in fact, the average cost of a PV module has dropped an astonishing 80% in the last 5 years. And this has been the hard work that this conference has done with the finance community, many of the finance community based right here in San Francisco, innovating models in which we can finance and make solar accessible and affordable to everyone. By the way, did you know the solar industry employs over 142,000 people in the United States today? And in the state of California, 50,000 jobs are created with the solar industry. And right here in the Bay Area, 21,000 of them, solar industry, sustainable, green, proud jobs. That's putting a lot of people back to work. Yes. And all of this, and this great job growth in this wonderful sustainable industry has been done in the worst economic times of this country, where not only were the economics against us, but the gridlock in Washington, D.C. was also against us. We've done it right here in California. And these achievements really require a partnership and a vision, and thank God we've got Governor Brown to lead us with the big champion of solar energy. And in the state of California, the governor has also made sure that these policies are reflected in a 33% renewable portfolio. I know he wants to exceed that, but at least that's a goal that is worthy of achieving. Of course, right here in San Francisco, I'm very proud of our own city. In fact, in the past decade, we've been systemically building out our renewable energy resources in complement to this conference. We have installed 16 municipal solar arrays, total of 7.6 megawatts generating capacity. And I'm proud of our extensive municipal solar. Just a few months ago, we put solar on our Davies Symphony Hall. That is the only symphony that's really the greenest symphony in the world, and that's just the beginning. We've got 5 more large solar projects in the works, and we're doing our part to make sure our residents and our businesses are joining in. And that's why, for the next 2 years in our budget cycle, I've invested $10 million in Go Solar San Francisco. That's our national program. I'm very proud of it. And Go Solar program has been so popular that over 3,000 homes have been registered and installed with solar since 2008, all generating about over 8.1 megawatts of clean energy. And the success of the Go Solar program is not just reducing greenhouse gas emissions or generating energy. I also think that you're creating the best paying jobs and making sure that San Franciscans who might not otherwise have been employed are being trained with these green jobs. We're reaching into our public housing residents, training them in the very thing that they felt they had no connection to in the past. We have an amazing 31 solar companies participating in Go Solar SF, and our workforce development program ensures that these jobs will be there for everyone. And again, thanks to the governor and his leadership, I have restarted the residential PACE program here in San Francisco. Green Finance SF. So homeowners can find affordable financing for their renewable energy, and their water efficiency retrofits. In fact, I had a moment to talk with the governor about that, and we are going to be joining Mayor Polito, who's here today. I want to thank him for being here, and other mayors across the state of California to bring up the mayors across the country to demand that President Obama and the national administration pay attention to the PACE program. We need national leadership right now, and we can get it by voicing our voices here as mayors. You know, solar is not the only industry that's thriving. There's, thanks to a business tax exclusion for clean tech firms, we have over 210 clean tech companies located right here, having their North American headquarters in San Francisco. And they are complemented by over 40 venture capital and finance firms with clean tech portfolios that are based in San Francisco. This is all to say that we're creating a whole community where they'll be successful, whether it's finance, whether it's visionary, whether it's the solar companies, whether it's capitalizing of that. I'm very proud of what our city is doing. And I want to, again, take this opportunity that to compliment these companies that are here. If you have a solar company or any other company that wishes to find a location for your North American headquarters, you are welcomed here in San Francisco. And with that, 7 years, Dr. Weber, we're proud of this. We're proud of the association relationship. We're proud of the accomplishments that this conference brings and the great minds that are here. Let's go out there and let's raise heck to the rest of the world. Let's demand that they come up to the same standards as well. Thank you for having your conference here.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lee. I think none of us from the organization have ever heard a complaint about the fact that the Intersolar North America is located and firmly located here in San Francisco in the Golden State. So very, very nice. It is a very special pleasure now to announce to you a member of our government in the state of Baden-Württemberg in Germany. Those of you who don't tell it, who don't know it, should realize that Baden-Württemberg, which is one of the most prosperous, technologically advanced states, therefore a little bit of similarity between the role of California in the United States and Baden-Württemberg in Germany, has since a few years a green-directed government. So at the election, at the last state election, the Green Party, to everybody's surprise, including, I would say, many politicians of the Green Party, got more votes than the Social Democratic Party. And we are very proud we have a green-directed government, the Social Democrats as a minor partner in the government. The Prime Minister is from the Green Party. And I'm very happy to announce Minister Untersteller, who is the Minister of Environment in this government. So thank you so much, Mr. Untersteller, to be with us today. We are looking forward to your greeting.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mayerly, Senator Parker, Ms. Del Chiaro, Mr. Weber, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here today, and I'm very grateful for this invitation to the opening of the 7th Intersolar North America. I'm always incredibly impressed by the ongoing and evolving success story of solar energy and the use to which it is put. As the Minister of Environment, Climate Protection and the energy sector in our state, I feel a particular affinity with the Intersolar North America. The roots of this exhibition actually go back to the state of Baden-Württemberg, specifically to the Intersolar in Freiburg, where we have a rooftop on the soccer stadium with solar technologies, and the capital, which Freiburg is the capital of solar power in Germany. Renowned research institutes in Freiburg, such as Fraunhofer, ISE, or the Institute for Applied Ecology, it's called Eco Institute, contributed some of the fundamental ideas which lead to the German energy transition. In the wake of the Fukushima nuclear disaster in early 2011, Germany decided on the gradual phase-out of all nuclear energy by the year 2022 in favor of a long-term strategy relying on renewable energy sources. What does this ambitious objective mean for an industrialized country like Germany is? Our aim is to have reduced total energy consumption in Baden-Württemberg by half and to be sourcing 80% of our remaining energy requirements from renewables by the year 2050. Our energy and climate policy objectives can be summarized in 5 key points. Our top priority is a safe and secure energy supply. This includes phasing out nuclear energy, as well as reducing our reliance on imports of fossil fuels by switching to renewable sources. In the long term, our energy system will become less vulnerable to external events and supply bottlenecks. One of our aims in the context is to guarantee a high level of supply security. Second, reliable costs. Energy must continue to be affordable for consumers and businesses. Fossil fuels such as oil, gas, or coal are finite resources. This fact, along with growing global demand, means that prices will continue to rise in the long run. Measures to increase energy efficiency and the use of renewable energies may cost money in the short time, but are investments which will pay off all the more in the medium and long terms. Under our plans to expand renewable energies and improve energy efficiency, we expect to reduce imports of fossil fuels by 9 billion euros by 2020. Third, mitigating climate change. In order to limit the impact of climate change as far as possible, we must initiate rigorous steps to reduce emissions. We therefore aim to cut CO2 emissions by 25% by the year 2020 and by around 90% by 2050. Fourth, regional value added. We are reducing the use of expensive fossil fuels by making energy efficiency improvements to our existing buildings and by expanding the use of renewable energies. As a result, money will remain in our regional economy. We are creating new jobs, for example, in the trades. And fifth, public participation. The government in my country, in Baden-Württemberg, is actively including citizens in the debate about the energy shift and involving them in actual projects. These include, for example, citizens' energy cooperatives that invest, for example, in wind farms. Ladies and gentlemen, in converting our power supply system to renewable energies, we must fully exploit the possibilities of all 5 renewable sources: hydropower, biomass, geothermal energy, wind power, and photovoltaics. In 2013, renewable energies accounted for around 23% of the total volume of electricity generated in Baden-Württemberg, and we aim to increase this share to 38% by 2020. As the potential of hydropower, biomass, and geothermal energy is limited in our state, we are mainly committed to expanding wind power and photovoltaics. We intend to expand photovoltaics alone on such a huge scale that it can generate 7.6 terawatt hours of electricity in Baden-Württemberg in 2020, or around 12% of all electricity generation. Photovoltaic systems supplying over 4,000 megawatts of electricity are already installed in my country. To achieve our targets for 2020, we will need installed output of around 8,800 megawatts. By the year 2050, the electricity generated by photovoltaics could rise to around 70,000 megawatts and provide 25% of anticipated electricity consumption. I consider these targets as realistic, precisely because Baden-Württemberg is in such an excellent position to promote photovoltaics worldwide. For example, the state of Baden-Württemberg is home to 2 especially outstanding and prestigious institutions: the Fraunhofer Institute of Solar Energy Systems in Freiburg, where the director is Eike Weber, and the Center of Solar Energy and Hydrogen Technologies in Stuttgart. Together with our strong mechanical engineering companies and with the aid of photovoltaics, Baden-Württemberg is in such a superb position to play a leading role in developing the energy supplying of the future. My confident optimism in this respect is based on the huge technological potential of photovoltaics. By increasing efficiency and cutting production costs, we can achieve power generation costs that are absolutely comparable to those of conventional power plants. However, another crucial factor in the success of photovoltaics will be how intelligently we integrate them in our power supply systems. The great advantage of photovoltaics is the ability to cap peak loads around midday. There are numerous technologies which could be used to store electricity from photovoltaics, including in combination with other forms of power generation from renewables. Just by looking at the program and the exhibitor list, I can see that there will be plenty of opportunities at this year's Intersolar North America to exchange views, information and ideas about these issues and other innovative and interesting subjects. I wish you every success at this exhibition and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Minister Untersteller, for your kind and encouraging words. And actually, we are here not only opening the exhibition as well as the conference. So both of this will, of course, look forward to help developing the technologies, the financial frameworks for the energy transformation, which we need so much. Now we are going from California, San Francisco, Baden-Württemberg to the East Coast of the United States. We are very happy to have with us Senator Kevin S. Parker. He's Senator of the New York State, and he is a ranking member of the Senate Standing Committee on Energy and Telecommunications. And since Fukushima, I think you are as well a very vigorous fighter for our joint cause.
Thank you. Okay. Before everybody, as we have to get the technical stuff going, I need everybody to, ready? Okay. I need everybody to smile. It's gonna be the first selfie. All right, now we got the selfies out of the way. I have no idea how to use this PowerPoint, so I'm just gonna press the buttons and they're gonna move. There we go. All right, good evening. Some of you weren't at the early preparation, so you don't know how this works. All right, so I'm from Brooklyn, so this is call and response. I say what I'm gonna say, and then you gotta say in response to what I'm gonna say. Everybody with me? Yes. Good evening, friends. Good evening. Good evening. I call you guys friends because even though I met many of you for the first time today, I feel like I've known you all for a long time, really because we share so much in common. First, those of us who are here deeply care about climate change and renewable energy. Those two realities give us both motivation to move forward in an environmentally responsible way and a roadmap that guides us in the changes that we need to realize. But second, we heard another great motivational speech by Governor Jerry Brown. Let's give him another round of applause, please. And once again, his keynote address last year was not only thought-provoking, but a call to action to the industry and to state legislators across the country. And when you heard it, the first thing you should have said to yourself is, well, what about New York? Well, at least that's what I thought, right? And as we talk about New York, let me, Mr. Weber, and I hate to do this, and all due respect to our host, Mayor Lee, who's just met and become a fast friend of mine, but I'd like to submit my first objection to this being the 7th annual Intersolar Conference in San Francisco. I think Brooklyn should get a chance. I'm just saying, you know. So I'm really here today to share with you what's going on in New York and what's going on I think, really in solar in a way that I think is different than how the conversation usually goes. All right, I'm going to come back to some of this other stuff, but I really want to do three things really, really quickly. One, the lessons that New York has learned from climate change. Two, the current state of renewables in New York. And lastly, kind of my thoughts and opinions about kind of where we go from here. And let me, again, start with the indisputable impacts of climate change upon New York's economy and citizenry. There has been, I don't know why, but really an idiotic debate around climate change. Why this is a debate, I'll never know. And we don't have to talk about drowning polar bears, but we see what's happening in all of the places in which we live. New York was hit with Superstorm Sandy, which was the largest hurricane on record when it was offshore. And when it hit New Jersey, it had weakened until it was barely a Category 1 hurricane. But despite that, it was literally the second most destructive hurricane in U.S. history, only trailing Katrina. That's something to think about. Sandy caused more than $68 billion in damage, and roughly $30 billion of that damage happened in New York State, even though we weren't even hit with the eye of the storm. A great deal of the costs arose from damage in New York City's residential and commercial real estate and to our bridges, our tunnels, our subways, our roadways, all which were flooded and suffered significant damage. Energy infrastructure was also severely damaged, being immersed in seawater for very, very long periods of time. Thankfully, we learned a lot about what we need to do kind of going forward. Sandy's 14-foot storm surge, and we're talking about, this is a storm surge of 14 feet that was 2 feet higher than any other recorded storm surge in the history of New York City. That's why our underground electrical system in New York City was flooded. That's why our 7 subway tunnels under the East River and Brooklyn Battery Tunnel were flooded. And that's why most of Lower Manhattan, along with parts of Queens and Brooklyn, were also completely underwater. As a state, we took away, again, many, many lessons, and I really have to give, and he's going to be surprised by this, so somebody please go and tell him. I got to give some credit to our governor, Andrew Cuomo, for his fast response. He's not going to believe that I said it, so hopefully somebody's getting this on tape. He really jumped into action and really not only responded to the storm in a really significant way, but afterwards really looked at our energy infrastructure and made some really critical changes to it. But the bottom line is, what's happening is that in New York, at least, we're getting 100-year storms every 2 years. Right? And so, we have to change with what's happening, and we really have to understand that this is not really a debate, that really climate change is real, and unless we do something about it, we're going to find ourselves as the drowning polar bears. But it's not just storms. Thank you. I think my mom's in the audience. Thanks, Mom. And it's not just storms. We've also have dealt with over the last couple of years, some of the warmest summers on record, all right? In fact, in 2010 was our warmest year on record, right? Literally in the history that we've been keeping weather, 2010 was the hottest summer we've had in New York. What that doesn't tell you, though, is that 2011, 12, and 13 were also amongst the top 10 warmest years on record. All of which, by the way, occurred since 1998, right? So when you look at the 10 warmest summers on record, they've all happened since 1998, right? And this is according to the National Oceanographic and Administration. Y'all know the name of it better than I do. I'm just reading the notes. And so, this brings us to the point of why we're here. Right? Because, we're here not just because we're in the solar industry, but this is really a call to action, right? That solar, like all renewable energies, is needed now. Yeah. Yes. And so we have to do a couple of things in terms of understanding what we need to do. First, we need to improve the policy supporting growth of solar, hydroelectric, wind energy, storage, And we must also aggressively set goals for transition from greenhouse gases and our fossil fuels to alternative energies. We also need to use the Bully Blueprint as being one of the creators of America's first cap and trade system. This is what New York needs to do. I mean, we created one of the first cap and trade systems, really the model from which we're trying to get Washington to do it, and we need to continue to talk about the success of what we refer to as RGGI in the state of New York. Second, we also must dramatically increase New York's community resilience in terms of energy supply and reliability to enable us to suffer less from catastrophic storms, heat waves, extreme winter weather, you know, and again, if we do that, we're not going to have any choice. This is upon us now, all right? There are a number of things that, you know, I can kind of go on and on about this, but let me just talk about some of the things that we have done. I should have changed the slide, huh? All right, here we are. We are a very complicated market for renewable energy in New York. We have almost 30 different types of state-level credits and initiatives for installing renewable generation from different sorts, much of which is not applicable to solar. But let me kind of simplify some of the things that you know we do have. First of all, you know New York has a renewable portfolio standard, and our current goal is 30% of the state's electricity to be provided by renewable energy by 2015. But the state of New York has also rolled out New York Sun. And again, some of you might have heard my good friend David Sandbank, who's here right now. Although at this conference, you were happily to call him David Sunbank, if you like. I didn't even improve that with him. I'm just, you know, just going off the cuff here. And this is the New York Public Utility Commission authorized NYSERDA, which is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, really the flagship alternative energy authority in the state of New York, to fund 3,000 megawatts of photovoltaic projects throughout 2023, right? And it would utilize declining megawatt block incentives to build capacity. And this is, I think, something that we fought very, very hard for in the state of New York, and I think is going to be revolutionary, not just for the solar industry, but also for ratepayers, who I think are going to be the beneficiaries of this project. We also have a bill that actually I am the sponsor of, surprise, surprise, is Senate Bill 7526. And this really increases the renewable portfolio standard to 80% renewable electricity by 2050. You can keep clapping if you like. Thank you. No, this has been, but you know, as I indicated when I spoke earlier, that this is going to be a fight. These bills just don't happen. It's not a matter of I just introduced the bill, it's a good bill, and you know, because it's wonderful and it's me, that they just shepherd it through. I really am here to call for your help. I'm going to need people here to call on the governor and the state legislature to pass this legislation, and that's the kind of work that we're going to need to do beyond just the nuts and bolts of the specific work around literally building solar, that we have to also build the political will in each state to make this legislation actually happen. Related to this, we are also doing reforming the energy vision to create Utility 2.0. We need to update the grid. We need to update how we, in fact, deal with utilities in the state of New York. And I, again, want to commend the governor on him putting this group together in order to learn, not just learn the lessons, but also to change what we've been doing to this point. So as I conclude, let me remind you of a couple of really important things. That New York citizens and its vital infrastructure, its economy, electric and telecommunication grids are too valuable to the citizens, and they're too vulnerable to the effects of climate change driven by extreme weather for us to do anything but redouble our efforts at this time to lower our greenhouse gas footprint and to plan more resiliency into our grids. As we deepen our commitment to renewable generation in New York, we're deepening our commitment to solar because it is the answer to many, many of our challenges. And we want not only more solar voltaic and solar thermal installations in New York, we want you to come to New York. New York is open for business. To paraphrase, you can clap for that. To paraphrase an extremely influential saying from Horace Greeley, a famous New Yorker who lived slightly more than 150 years ago, if you want to find opportunity, go east, young men and women, go east. So, by the way, you slightly older men and women, more mature, will not only come seeking jobs, but build new factories and other businesses. We want you to come to New York, too. Thank you all for this opportunity. I can't tell you how awesome it was for me to share the stage with one of my political idols, Governor Jerry Brown. Thank all the people in this room for your past and current future efforts to make this world a better place through a cleaner environment and to save us from the threats posed by global climate change. And finally, I want to thank our hosts, Governor Brown, Mayor Lee, Dr. Weber, and Intersolar for all your work. And particularly, speaking of stellar, my friend Lyle Rollins for his guidance and his help is important. Thank you for everything. May we leave here always facing the sun.
Yes, thank you. Very happy, Bernadette, that you share with us your talk, and I hope your slides, yes, they're already working there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Weber and Intersolar. It is a pleasure to be here. We may be frenemies on the football field, but we are compatriots in the Coliseum of solar promotion. And I'm really pleased to be here. Again, my name is Bernadette Del Chiaro. I'm the Executive Director of CalSEA, the California Solar Energy Industry Association. We represent hundreds of California companies up and down the state and throughout the industry, advocating for the advancement of solar power in every nook and cranny decision-making forum and beyond here in this state. We've grown our membership over the past year by 50%, which is terrific. However, that still means less than 15% of the businesses doing work here in California are members of the association. And as the governor mentioned, we have a long way to go. There's strength in numbers, and I encourage you, all of you, to not only join us tomorrow night at Summerfest, which is an awesome networking party and a benefit to CalSEA and our work, but also join us as members so that we can work to continue to realize the vision of living, as the governor put it more elegantly, here in California and beyond. I put together a couple slides. There's many reasons to be incredibly optimistic about what the foundation upon which we stand both here in the United States and also here in California. A couple of facts to just leave you with as you begin your conference activities. This is from a really great organization, Environment America, did a report on solar cities throughout the United States. I encourage you all to download it and check it out. But just 20 cities across the country, representing 0.1% of the landmass, host 7% of the solar capacity. There's a real Cinderella story happening throughout the country. Indianapolis has more solar than Silicon Valley. Phoenix has more solar than eco-friendly San Francisco. We are seeing a race to the top across the country, and we in California welcome that competition from Brooklyn all the way across the country. Another good fact is that California here, we've installed more solar in the past 18 months than the past 18 years combined. We're seeing tremendous growth. And we are finally reaching double digits in terms of our contribution to California's electricity supply. This past March, we broke records, generating 16.5% of California's electricity on a given day. And this is what's really important here. This is only counting the 4 gigawatts of utility scale solar. It's not counting the 2 gigawatts we have on rooftops throughout the state. So we probably reached more like 25% on that day. And hey, the sky didn't fall. Go figure. And then one last prideful moment here, I think, and a really take-home fact that we are working to promote and educate decision makers throughout the state is that California's solar industry now employs more people than the 3 investor-owned utilities combined. So we are not only contributing meaningfully in terms of California's carbon-free electricity supplies, but we are also helping to grow our economy and put real people to work right here in the state. But none of this is obviously possible without the support of our governor. We have been blessed with 11 years of strong leadership from the very top. But that said, a strong solar market is not made alone by our governor. We have numerous people that we need to work with to promote the pro-solar policies. If you think about it, there are over 50 commissioners who play a vital role in the establishment of pro-solar policy just here in California alone. There are over 100 legislators in Sacramento, not to mention 50 members of Congress. And then there are literally thousands of staff that work for those institutions that have to get the details right. And as you guys know, no matter how visionary a program may be, if the details aren't right, it doesn't work. And over the past 6 months alone, one of the things I want to emphasize is what we're doing is not only pushing the big visions, but we're also down in the weeds getting those details right. In the past 3 months alone, there have been 3 significant decisions that we've been part of. One is net metering. Many of you probably are aware that last year the legislature misguidedly put in question the future of all of our hundreds of thousands of net metered customers here in California. We rallied a tremendous amount of support, worked with all of our allies, and got the Public Utilities Commission this past March to make a definitive decision saying that every single customer in the state of California that signs up, both has signed up and over the next couple of years gets their net metering contract, the full retail rate, the protection from anti-solar fees for 20 years of the life of their system. Another initiative that we are really committed to is growing the solar water heating market. We passed a bill back in 2007 to get this industry off the ground. It has been met with numerous sort of setbacks, but we are working to get it off the ground and right now making a lot of progress working with our program administrators in the state to fix the little glitches that keep these rebates from being really meaningful for our industry. And as I'll talk about in a minute, we're going to go way beyond that with promoting the solar thermal market. We also averted a disaster with fire code. Again, I'm getting in the weeds here, but I just want you guys all to understand what we sort of face here in California of keeping this state being a consistent solar power leader. Unbeknownst to many and unknown by our regulators, California recently put in place a building code that essentially made every solar panel system illegal in the state of California starting January 1st of this year. We quickly worked with the state fire marshal and the Building Standards Commission to correct that, give us another year to get all of our racking and modules through testing so that we can meet updated fire code. But it was a real disaster that was averted. And again, it was because of the strength of our industry and also the support that we do have here in California for continuing to see solar power grow. Now, California is at a real crossroads, not only for public policy, but also with some of our decision makers. The president of the Public Utilities Commission, Michael Peavy, but his term is soon to expire. We're hoping that he will seek to get reappointed to that position and continue to lead the Public Utilities Commission and critical decisions such as the future of net metering. We are joining and are pleased to join with Intersolar and presenting the first ever Champion of Change Award to Mr. Peavy tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And I really want to encourage you all to come to that so that we can give a loud applause to him for all of his work in helping to be a really strong solar voice in the California Public Utilities Commission. That's tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the Innovation and Application stage. Here's another really amazing fact, and I want this to sink in. Because of term limits, in the next 2 years, almost half of all of California's legislature will be brand new. They'll be termed out, and we'll have brand new people. Hopefully, they will all be Senator Parkers. But this is both a challenge and a credible opportunity to work to educate these folks. Think about it. They weren't around during the electricity crisis. They were not around during the Million Solar Roofs initiative. They don't even really necessarily know what that program is anymore. They definitely don't understand net metering, and they've never heard of the Solar Rights Act. So we have a lot of work to do to educate them and develop those new champions and make sure California stays that steady pro-solar state that we know we can be. So what lies ahead? How do we weather this storm of uncertainty that's going to hit us over the next couple of years and continue not just to weather the storm, but to actually grow and continue to break records? We have a lot of irons in the fire, but I wanted to highlight a few and what we see as our path toward continued growth and sustainability. The first and foremost is net metering. Again, that same legislation passed last year commits California to a future of a completely uncapped, unlimited net metering program. Nevertheless, the devil's in the details, and we're going to be working to hash that out over the next 18 months. It's absolutely critical the industry is strong and unified, a voice at the Public Utilities Commission, so we get those details right, and we continue to see sustainable, robust growth in the rooftop market. We also need to lower our soft costs. CalCIA is one of the leading voices in the Capitol right now, working to promote AB Assembly Bill 2188 by Assemblyman Almer Suchi from Southern California. This bill will establish standardized, streamlined permitting for solar and thermal and photovoltaics throughout the state in over 500 jurisdictions. And we'll do that over the next year. And we've been flying through, for small residential, sorry, I should say that. We've been flying through the state legislature or through the assembly. We're halfway through the Senate, and we are hoping to put a bill worthy of the governor's signature on his desk at the end of August. But we need your help. We have a lot of opposition from folks that don't like to be told what to do. And so we're hoping that you can join us in helping to see that bill through the finish line. There's also a lot of financing breakthroughs that are happening. The PACE program that the mayor mentioned, there's also 150 other cities that are launching residential PACE this year, giving us the ability to give our customers yet another financing opportunity for solar and also thermal. And then last but certainly not least, California's continued commitment, not to mention President Obama's renewed commitment to carbon reduction strategies. This is incredibly real. It's incredibly meaningful. We need to not be spectators in this sport. We need to be down on the field making sure that solar is a real winner and is a real contributor to California's carbon solutions, not to mention throughout the United States. You know, this is an opportunity not just for large-scale solar, not just for photovoltaics, but also solar hot water. All of us can win on this. We are real meaningful players when it comes to carbon reductions, but we need to make sure that we're part of those policies that are going to be hashed out over the next 2 years. So in closing, again, I want to thank our friends at Intersolar and all of my fellow speakers here tonight. I had the opportunity a few months ago of joining Angelina Galitova and her organization Renewables 100 at a 60th PV cell anniversary celebration event. And they have, by the way, a really great display with John Perlin and others that you should check out. Some really awesome artifacts from the history of the PV cell. But at this event, I had the opportunity to have a conversation brief with Morton Prince, who was one of the original scientists at Bell Labs, and I asked him at this event, you know, what's your observation of our success and how far we've come? And he said, you know, of course he's proud of where the industry is at today, but he never thought that it would take us this long. He did, and I was floored by this because he's not exactly a radical guy, but he said, I never thought it would take us 60 years, and it was because we underestimated the power of the opposition influences that want to stand in the way of alternative energy and of a superior way of doing things. So I think that should be a real call to action for us to not rest on our laurels, not assume that states like California and New York are going to do this based on the charisma of a handful of our elected leaders. We need to work together as an industry. It's the industry that created the PV cell. It's going to be the industry that works together to make sure that we not just go from 0 to 60 in 60 years, but let's quadruple that in the next 6. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Bernadette. I must say, we are getting really jealous in Germany when we hear the demand for net metering without any cap. You know, if we would do net metering today in Germany, where you can basically subtract all your PV electricity from your yearly bill, people would be very, very happy to do that. But I think right now in Germany, the difference between the cost of solar electricity and the cost of electricity from the wall plug is so large, it would simply be too much of an incentive. So we cannot afford to do it. But I think we are happy that we have here in California such a strong advocacy group who really, really works well with the legislature and with the governor. And of course, you have a slight advantage that the Democrats have how much? 2/3 or so of the state's legislature. I think that is something we can only dream of in Germany. Yeah. So thanks so much, Bernadette.